time for another week of predictions, which honestly can't go worse than last week. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. No, seriously, last week was chaos. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down and predicting each game in the Week 6 slate. And last week, things did not go well. I went a season low 6-8 in pick'ems, and the good news is it seems like everybody else sucked as well. I'm 53-24 on the season. We currently have 3 folks tied for first place in the Grossi Posse League with a high score of 59-18. So the fact that after 5 weeks there are only 6 games separating me and the first place teams, either I'm doing really well or we all just have no idea what's going on in the NFL. And honestly, I don't think I'm doing that well. And so heading into this week, hopefully I will improve on my season-long record, but honestly, I won't hold my breath. Starting off with Thursday Night Football. Hey, we don't have an NFC West matchup. Instead, we got the NFC East showdown between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. The Eagles having their first loss of the season against the Denver Broncos this past Sunday, and unfortunately for the Eagles, they have seen this kind of play all season. The Eagles offense has not shown up for a full 4 quarters. You'll have them play really well in the first half, like against the Buccaneers, or they won't show up in the second half, like we saw against the Rams. And unfortunately for the Eagles, they did not show up in the fourth quarter. Patullo's offensive play calling has not been great, and I know Philly fans are ready to run him out of town. And potentially the oddest thing for the Eagles is that Saquon Barkley really hasn't gotten it going in the ground game. He had that big time reception for a touchdown last week, but until they get Saquon going, it just seems like this team is not reaching their full potential. They're going to be taking on the New York Giants, who, speaking of potential, that Jackson Dart hype train was fun for at least a week.
Oh, well, it was nice while it lasted, right? Sure.
The Giants giving the Saints their first win of the season. And listen, you got to shout out the Saints. They have not looked like the worst team in the league, which I feel like I have said about them for 5 straight weeks. But hey, this time you weren't even the worst team on the field on Sunday as they won their first game. The Giants, yeah, it was a struggle. And when talking about the Giants, we got to take this with a grain of sand, right? But Dart definitely did not have his best game on Sunday, throwing 2 interceptions. And while he was only sacked 1 time, the problem with the Giants right now is at times they don't have a ground game to lean upon. Scatterboo has shown a ton of potential, and while he was decent on Sunday, and he also provided some help in the passing game, this team just feels very one-dimensional at the moment, and I don't even know if that dimension is good. With the loss of Malik Neighbors, that is definitely impacting their passing game. But the good news is for the Giants that this is just an evaluation year. They got to figure out if Jackson Dart is the guy, and on top of that, if they're going to be keeping their coaching staff, their GM, and going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, they are going to have a very tall task on Thursday. The Eagles, I'm sure, are going to be out for revenge, and when you look at the Giants, you look at their defensive front being the highlight of that squad, maybe they'll be able to get after Jalen Hurts, which could make a difference here. But honestly, I don't see the Giants walking away with a win here. I think the Eagles should be able to pick up the win on the short week. We'll see if Saquon Barkley can get it going in his revenge game against the Giants. But let's be honest, Saquon Barkley shouldn't want any revenge because honestly, things have been much better since he left New Jersey. Following that, you got another international game between the Denver Broncos and the New Jersey Jets. The Broncos coming away with a big win, defeating the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. And meanwhile, Jets fans are still trying to remember the last time they had hope.
They're feeling joy.
I don't get it.
You're wasting your time! Don't look at me, asshole!
But let's talk about the Denver Broncos. For 3 quarters, that offense was poo-poo caca garbage. It did not look good. Bo Nix was struggling, and while J.K. Dobbins has looked pretty darn good these past few weeks, he wasn't really getting things going until the 4th quarter. And then everyone started to believe. Bo Nix had a really nice fourth quarter. A couple penalties went the Broncos' way, and the Eagles just let their foot off the gas, allowing the Broncos to not only score a couple touchdowns, but Sean Payton making the big decision to go for two, taking the lead, and then eventually getting a field goal. You have to shout out the Broncos' defense, as they have been pretty damn good this entire season. Nick Bonito is on an absolute tear, and the Broncos are feeling pretty high right now as they're taking on the Jets, who... yeah, things are bad. Things are really, really bad. How bad are they? They are the only winless team in the NFL after week 5, which is, I guess it's kind of expected. And for the Jets, for the most part, they've at least been competitive. It has definitely not been pretty. You've had undisciplined penalties. And overall, for the Jets, I think they're just trying to figure out their identity. We talk about Justin Fields, who is likely a stopgap. Aaron Glenn is a new head coach. He seems to be struggling right now. And overall, for the Jets, they're just trying to hold on to some kind of hope and optimism, because right now, it does not look like it is very near. And taking a look at this game, going up against a tough Broncos defense, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game, and who knows, maybe the Jets put up a pretty good fight here. However, I am going to rely on that Denver defense. I think they'll be able to shut down whatever the Jets offense is going to throw at them, and we'll see how Bo Nix is going to progress this week. We want to see that offense get better and better, and like I said, if they're able to rely on the ground game, I think this offense should be able to be at least efficient. So because of that, I'm going to go with the Broncos to get another win, and if they lose to the only winless team in the NFL after beating the last undefeated NFC team last week, oh, the irony is going to be amazing. Following that, you got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Cardinals. Do I need to say more? You know what you did. The Cardinals had multiple opportunities to win that game. Hell, they had 2 chances to ice that game, and then they fumbled it away.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm kicking my ass! Do you mind?
Whether it was DeMarcado fumbling it before he walked into the end zone, or whether it was picking off Cam Ward and then fumbling that, which resulted in a touchdown for the Titans, it was one of the most epic collapses I have seen in a good long while, as the Cardinals lost to the Tennessee Titans, giving them their first win of the season. And for the Cardinals, yeah, things have not been looking really good. There are a whole lot of question marks about Kyler Murray. Jonathan Gannon's getting fined $100,000 for hitting his own players. You lost both your running backs, and right now in Arizona, things are looking pretty bleak. They're going to be taking on the Indianapolis Colts, who absolutely whooped the Las Vegas Raiders last week. Geno Smith throwing a couple interceptions, and the Colts continue to be on a roll. They're looking like one of the better teams in the AFC. And honestly, before the season, if you told me that heading into week 6, I would not have believed you. Jonathan Taylor is having a phenomenal season. Daniel Jones is playing really efficient football. And the biggest thing about the Colts right now is they're consistent. They have a nice ground game to rely on. They're not turning the ball over too much. And their defense looks to have improved from last season. And taking a look at this game, yeah, I gotta go with the Indianapolis Colts. This might be one of the more lopsided games of the weekend. I just do not believe in the Cardinals in any way, shape, or form. We've been joking around about them being my dark horse team for the past 3 seasons. Well, now, I don't think they're a dark horse anymore. I think they're a horse with a broken leg. And this Sunday, the Colts might take them out back. Following that, oh, good God. You got the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Miami Dolphins. Well, heading into week 6, which team are you more disappointed in? The Chargers, they were doing so well to start the season. 3 divisional wins. They were looking amazing. And then the injuries occurred. Of course, Rashawn Slater being injured before this season even started, that was a huge blow. Then Joe Alt got hurt. And then this past weekend, Omarion Hampton is now injured, and he's going to be missing a few weeks. And so right now for the Chargers, things are not looking good. Throw on top of that, a returning Jaden Daniels was able to beat them as the Commanders got a victory over the Chargers on Sunday. And it just feels like the Chargers are cursed right now with injuries. We'll see how they're going to do when they're able to get some of those guys back. But as of right now, the charging is in full effect. But speaking of charging, they're going to be taking on the Miami Dolphins, who blew a 17-point lead to the Panthers.
We've been hustled.
Nobody says that anymore.
Well, then what would you call it, Jared?
I wouldn't comment on it. We were all there. We know what happened.
Just when you think it can't get any sadder. Good God, the Dolphins. And Tua didn't even look too bad this past Sunday. But the Dolphins absolutely gave that game away to the Carolina Panthers. And again, you got to give the Panthers some credit here. They fought hard throughout that entire game. But the Dolphins, they should be winning these football games. And heading into the season, there were already a lot of question marks if Tua can stay healthy. Right now, that is not the problem. Devin Achane, although he had a really nice touchdown catch in the first half, was absolutely nowhere to be found in the run game as he only got 16 yards on the ground this past Sunday. And eventually, Mike McDaniel just walked dejected into the locker room as his hot seat is getting even hotter. Now, they are playing in Miami, and like we talked about with the Chargers, they are down a bunch of key players. And so this might wind up being a pretty close game. I actually wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins jump out to an early lead once again. The problem is just like the Cardinals, I can't rely on the Dolphins at all right now. Their win against the Jets, which is also not really that impressive, is their only win of the season. And heading into this week, if the Chargers defense is able to contain what Tua is able to do, and Achane can't find his footing again, I do think the Chargers will do enough to win this football game. They got some help with some trades earlier this week, and so because of that, I'm going to go with the Chargers to get the win. Dolphins, maybe this is your last chance to try and reclaim the season and make something out of it, but honestly, my expectations are pretty low. Following that, you got an AFC North showdown between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Listen, nobody had a better bye week than the Pittsburgh Steelers, who didn't have to do diddly squat last week, and every single team in the division lost. And we talked about the Steelers in power rankings, and just based off the way the AFC North is shaping up, the Steelers might win this division. They might not even have to do much. They're going to be taking on the Cleveland Browns, who had a pretty damn good game against the Minnesota Vikings. Judkins, the rookie, has been looking really good these past couple of weeks, which is very needed in Cleveland as they needed an established run game. And hell, Dylan Gabriel, he looked pretty decent in his first NFL start. Unfortunately for him, though, he came up a bit short.
Too little short for a stormtrooper? Huh?
And of course, the Cleveland Browns traded away Joe Flacco to the Bengals yesterday, which is... yeah, I don't know how much that's going to help, though if the Packers do lose to Joe Flacco, I may scream. But the Browns are just trying to figure it out on offense. If Dylan Gabriel can progress this season, they may have found their future starter, but after one game, of course, that is still going to be up in the air. Going up against this Steelers team, who the last time we saw them play had a good run game, their defense was looking good, and Rodgers was getting the ball out quick, this is going to be a tough game. At the same time, it is an AFC North divisional matchup, and so you never freaking know. However, though, being played in Pittsburgh, I'm going to go with the Steelers to get the win. The Steelers are going up against a good defense, and they may be giving Aaron Rodgers some fits this week, and so I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns are able to sneak one away and win this game. However, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. Their defense looks better. Maybe they'll be able to contain Dylan Gabriel or get some turnovers. And while the Steelers' run game may falter against this Browns run defense, I believe in Aaron Rodgers to get the ball out quickly and maybe get the win. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Carolina Panthers. The Cowboys, they were able to easily defeat the New Jersey Jets last week, and I know it would have been classic Cowboys for them to tie the Packers in their best offensive viewing of the season and then lose to the Jets. However, I'm not going to lie, it looks like that Cowboys offense is starting to hum again. And there's really a few things that stand out for the Cowboys offense. Their defense, yeah, that definitely needs to improve. But Dak Prescott has been playing really, really well. On top of that, Javonte Williams. The Cowboys have been in desperate need of a run game, and they seem to have found it in Javonte Williams. Of course, when he was with Denver, he was battling injuries, but so far this season, he's playing some really damn good ball. And on top of all this, their offense is able to be this productive without CeeDee Lamb, who could return within the next couple of weeks. They're going to be taking on the Carolina Panthers, who got their second win of the season in that comeback victory against the Miami Dolphins. And Bryce Young, yeah, he looked fine, but the main star of last Sunday was Rico Dowdle, who absolutely crushed it on Sunday against the Dolphins. And for him, this is his revenge game going up against his old team in the Dallas Cowboys. While this is being played in Charlotte and the Panthers are coming off a big comeback victory, I don't think that defense will be able to contain Dak Prescott and that Cowboys offense. They just look like they are on a heater right now. I don't think the Panthers are going to be able to slow that down enough to get the victory. And so because of that, I got to go with the hot hand in the Cowboys here to get the win. However, if they lose, I think we can all agree it'll be really funny. Following that, you have what might be the game of the week. You got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Seahawks losing a heartbreaker against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this past Sunday, a game that came down to the very end in which Baker Mayfield was able to pull out some magic and eventually get the victory. Unfortunately for the Seahawks, they were in prime position to win that game, but a Sam Darnold interception ended those hopes and dreams. However, you got to give a lot of credit to the Seahawks, who have been looking pretty damn good this season. Their offense seems well balanced when they're able to run the football. Sam Darnold is being super efficient with the ball. He had 4 touchdowns on Sunday. And unfortunately for their defense, while it did collapse at the very end, they are dealing with a litany of injuries right now, which is not making their jobs any easier. They're going to be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, who came through big time and defeated the Kansas City Chiefs.
You crazy son of a bitch, you did.
The Jaguars beating the Chiefs on Monday Night Football in a classic game. Trevor Lawrence having a sensational final drive. Travis Hunter making a big impact in that game as well. And ultimately, this is a huge win for the Jacksonville Jaguars against a conference opponent. And on top of that, it's always nice to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And when we're talking about the Jaguars, we've been mentioning them in the past few weeks. Their defense has been much improved from last year. Their run game, while it wasn't existent on Sunday night as Trevor Lawrence was their leading rusher, ETN has been having a really nice season. And if Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter can find their footing, this offense could get really, really good. Now, the issue with the Jaguars right now, and you saw this on Monday night, is that Trayvon Walker is out. And I think that is the difference maker in this game. The Seahawks have done a really nice job at protecting Sam Darnold, and going up against a Trayvon Walker-less Jaguars defense, I think this could give the Seahawks an advantage here. I think if Sam Darnold doesn't turn the ball over and they're able to get Kenneth Walker going, I do think the Seahawks can win this game. I wouldn't be surprised in any way, shape, or form if the Jaguars won. I've been behind them the majority of the season. However, if Trayvon Walker doesn't play, I know they're a little bit hopeful for him to play on Sunday. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks to get the win here. Either way, this should be yet another classic game. And for Seahawks fans, they just got to hope that this one doesn't end in heartbreak. Following that, you got the LA Rams taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Rams suffering a heartbreaking loss in overtime against the San Francisco 49ers. Unfortunately, a couple turnovers, another block kick, and going for it on 4th down with just a run up the gut wasn't enough to beat San Francisco. However, I still think the Rams are a pretty solid football team. They may just not be the most consistent team. I thought they were going to be able to feast on Mac Jones and that battered up offensive line that the 49ers have. However, Mac Jones, while he did get beat up, he didn't get sacked a whole lot on Thursday night, and ultimately the Rams were unable to win that football game. However, a lot of mistakes went into them losing that game. They're going to be taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who... yeah, that was freaking rough. They got destroyed by the Houston Texans, and we've been wondering where that Texans offense has been the entire season. Well, they found their footing against the Baltimore Ravens, and honestly, with Cooper Rush at the helm, I'm not sure they're going to be able to right the ship.
Oh yeah? Watch this.
Watch what?
The Ravens just looked pitiful this past Sunday. Their offense had no firepower without Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry didn't get anything going, and that defense, oh, it is ugly. They just traded away Oweh to the Chargers, who I know was not doing a whole lot this season. But yeah, the Ravens, this is just disappointing. In terms of expectations heading into this season that they should be Super Bowl favorites, this is probably the worst start that they could have possibly imagined. And on top of that, with Lamar Jackson's status in doubt, I just don't think the Ravens are going to be able to win this football game. Their offensive line of the Ravens has not done a great job this season, going up against a good Rams defensive front. I think the Rams should be able to win this game. If Lamar Jackson does return, maybe the Ravens have a shot here, but I got to go with Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Hopefully their offense is going to continue to keep on clicking. But hey, if the Ravens got a shot, they just got to block a few Rams kicks. Then you got the New England Patriots taking on the New Orleans Saints. Both these teams having big wins last week. The Patriots able to knock down the Bills on Sunday Night Football. That first half was absolutely disgusting, in which turnovers from both teams, you had a litany of penalties, but the Patriots really started to open up that offense in the second half. Stephon Diggs had a great revenge game against the Buffalo Bills. Their defense played well, and how about fracking Drake May? There were some darts that he threw in that game, and all of a sudden, as these weeks have progressed, best, it looks like Drake May is getting better and better. The protection has been getting better as well. I know they're going up against a pass rush that is almost non-existent for the Buffalo Bills, but the offense of the Patriots deserves a ton of credit. They're taking on the New Orleans Saints, who got their first win of the year this past Sunday, and there's only one way to celebrate.
Smells great. It's gumbo, isn't it?
Spencer Rattler putting together another good game this past Sunday, and again, he has been quietly putting together a pretty darn good season. I know he had one bad game a couple of weeks ago, but we keep on talking about the New Orleans Saints as this developmental team, and who knows if we're even going to see Shook at any point this season, but hopefully this is a nice foundation for the Saints to build upon. I know expectations were super duper low for New Orleans heading into this season, and so far heading into week 6, while they're not doing that great because they only won one game, they're at least making it competitive. Taking on the Patriots here, I think this is going to be a very tough game for this New Orleans Saints offense. They are a tough defense to move the ball against, and on top of that, if Drake May is dealing like he was on Sunday night, I think the Patriots should be able to win this game. This game is being played in New Orleans, so maybe that loud atmosphere can give the Saints an advantage, but here, as long as Ramondre Stevenson doesn't fumble, I do believe in the Patriots to get the job done, and Drake May getting himself another win. Then, this is something. You got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Titans, well, they needed 2 miracles to win that game, but they pulled it off.
It's just nice to win one.
The Titans coming back and defeating the Arizona Cardinals in probably one of the most unexpected ways possible. That Cam Ward interception fumble into a touchdown, yeah, I don't even know what you do with that. And let's be very clear, the Titans, they are still not a very good football team. They're going to be taking on the Raiders, who are also not a very good football team, as they got absolutely knocked around by the Indianapolis Colts. And taking a look at this game, I think it's an absolute coin flip. You look at Cam Ward, who has been under siege behind that offensive line, and that has been a problem. And now going up against Max Crosby, and possibly the one good thing about this Raiders team, that could be a problem. However, on the other side of things, Geno Smith has been turning the ball over relentlessly. He looked horrendous this past Sunday. And honestly, this game might just come down to who is slightly worse on Sunday. Now, one of the big keys in this game is the fact that the Titans have the 31st ranked run defense, which is pretty damn bad. Going up against Ashton Genty, if Genty is able to just be fed the ball almost the entire game, taking the game out of Geno Smith's hands, I think the Raiders should be able to get the win. Combine that with Max Crosby potentially getting after Cam Ward, I do like the Raiders getting the win here. Let me scratch that. I think the Raiders can pull off the win. I don't like this game at all. If the Titans wind up winning this game, I wouldn't be surprised. However, if the game plan is just featuring Ashton Genty, I think they should be able to get the win here. Geno just can't turn the ball over. And yeah, whoever wins this game, I think the audience is going to lose after watching it. Then you got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 49ers coming away with one of the grittiest wins of the season, defeating the LA Rams in overtime. Mac Jones, who was already dealing with an injury coming into this game, and hell, everybody on the 49ers is injured, able to gut through it and lead their team to victory. Now, there was a lot of things that went right for the 49ers. You talk about their offensive line, which did not look good against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but looked pretty darn good against the Rams. And on top of that, the 49ers defense punching that ball out of Kyron Williams' hands, getting a major turnover, completely turned the tides of that ball game. And for the 49ers, you have to give them a ton of credit right now, because even with all of their injuries, they are finding ways to win games. And as the season goes along, you hope that they are just going to get healthier and healthier, and at the same time, better and better. And while I'm saying you should give them a ton of credit, 49ers fans are still not happy with me after leaving them out of power rankings.
You have paid the price for your lack of vision.
It was an honest mistake, okay? I was editing the document, their name was up there, and I accidentally deleted it. I'm sorry. But the 49ers are going to have one of their hardest tests of the season, taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were able to get another last-second win, this time against the Seattle Seahawks. And we have to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because holy cow, man. Baker Mayfield is playing phenomenal football. You look up clutch in the dictionary, and his face is right there. Ibuka's playing like an offensive rookie of the year, and ultimately, this Buccaneers offense is looking dynamite. Now, just like the 49ers, just to a lesser degree, the Buccaneers are dealing with a litany of injuries as well. Bucky Irving, as of recording right now, looks to not be playing this upcoming Sunday, or at least his status is in doubt. I know the Buccaneers just recently added another running back to their roster. On top of that, you do worry about the Buccaneers defense, which has not been at its best, and they're going up against a good 49ers defense, which really showed up against the Rams this past Thursday night. And so this is another game that could go either way. Being played in Tampa, I think, is going to give the Buccaneers an advantage. And as of right now, while I do think the 49ers are a good football team and they're definitely a gritty team, I just can't pick against the Buccaneers. I picked the Bucs to win against the Seahawks last week and they were able to pull it out. And here, while I think it might be a close game, I'm going to pick the Buccaneers once again to get the win. And who knows, this might wind up being a playoff preview as these two teams may meet again in the playoffs. We still got a long way to go and both teams got to get healthy. But for right now, I'm having the Bucs get the win. Then you got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. The Bengals making a splashy trade yesterday in trading for Joe Flacco, who finds himself playing against this Packers team once again.
Well, I'm out of here. What just happened?
But the Bengals confirming that Joe Flacco will be starting on Sunday as the Jake Browning experiment seems to be over, as their offense can't really do a whole lot. This past Sunday, at least they were able to be respectable in that last quarter and score some touchdowns, but overall, it has been a nightmare for the Bengals offense. Their offensive line is bad, Chase Brown can't find any running lanes, and of course, talking about QBs, yeah, Joe Burrow's out till December, so things are not looking good. They're going to be taking on the Green Bay Packers, who are coming off a much-needed bye week. Zach Tom and Aaron Banks along that offensive line practicing this week is a huge addition to this offense. On top of that, Christian Watson is also back at practice this week. After having a major leg injury last year, he finds himself already practicing less than 300 days later. That's pretty damn impressive. As of recording this, I do not know if Christian Watson is going to be playing this Sunday, as that would definitely be a huge addition to this already explosive offense. Jordan Love has been playing really damn well. Him and Dak Prescott went toe-to-toe on that Sunday night football game, which was the last game we saw the Packers play. And for the Packers, this is a game they really need to win. Micah Parsons has been wanting to sack Joe Flacco. He wanted to sack him back in week 3 and missed out on that opportunity, and so he gets another shot this upcoming Sunday. But for the Packers, if they want to establish themselves as contenders in the NFC, this is a team that they need to beat and beat pretty decisively. The defense, with Devontae Wyatt getting injured against the Cowboys, is definitely questionable. You got to hope that Micah Parsons is going to be able to make an impact in this game, as well as LVN and Rashawn Gary. And who knows if there's going to be even a snap count for Micah Parsons, as now he's had another week to rest and get into better football shape. But here, I do think playing at home, the Packers should be able to win this game. While Joe Flacco did beat the Packers once before this season, it is a very different defense that the Packers are going up against. And on top of that, as long as a kick isn't blocked, the Packers should be fine. And so because of that, I'm giving the Packers a win. And if Joe Flacco beats them again, you may not find me on the internet this week. Then on Sunday Night Football, you got the Detroit Lions taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Lions taking care of business against the Cincinnati Bengals, at least for the first 3 quarters, and if you ask any of their fan base, they are not happy with how that 4th quarter went. But ultimately, the Lions are playing some pretty damn consistent football. They're another team where you have some questions about their secondary, and that is definitely concerning. However, their pass rush has been pretty damn good. Their offense is humming along. Jared Goff is playing well, and of course, whether it's Montgomery running on the ground or it's throwing through the air, they're able to find ways to score points. And that is just one of the many reasons why they have not lost since week 1. They're going to be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who we just talked about. They suffered a heartbreaking loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars this past Monday night. And for the Chiefs, it seems like it was the same problems that have plagued them all season, as they couldn't get things going with Isaiah Pacheco, who had been pretty good in weeks prior. But ultimately, it was a combination of penalties and turnovers that wound up sinking the Chiefs, and it allowed Trevor Lawrence to get back up and dive into that end zone. I think you could also blame Chris Jones a little bit for that too. But for the Chiefs, they are obviously not at full strength. They're going to have to wait another week for them to get Rashee Rice back, and then I'm very curious to see what that offense is going to look like. They still have a very solid defense, and they are going to be put to the test against this very good Lions offense this week. Being played in Arrowhead on primetime, I think this gives the Chiefs a major advantage here, and I would not be surprised if the Chiefs win this football game. However, I am going to go with the Detroit Lions to win this game, and the reason being is because their offense is more explosive, and on top of that, if that pass rush is able to get after Patrick Mahomes, though that offensive line has done a nice job protecting him, I think that could potentially change the dynamic of this game. The only variable that I am not accounting for is that after getting the Packers and the Seahawks, Perna's curse wheel targeted the Lions this week.
I have money. You don't have to do this.
And so we're about to see if the Lions can defeat the curse wheel this week. I'm going to go with Detroit getting the win against the Chiefs on primetime, and we'll see if they put an asterisk next to this one. Then, on something that nobody asked for yet again, you got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. You got the Buffalo Bills taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Bills, suffering a loss against the New England Patriots at home on Sunday night in what was a pretty terrible performance in terms of discipline and unfortunately turnovers. Josh Allen finally threw his first interception of the season, and ultimately it resulted in the Bills' first loss.
I have done nothing wrong ever in my life.
I know this, and I love you.
And for the Bills, while their defense is definitely suspect, it was their offense that was giving me fits on Sunday. The lack of discipline, the amount of penalties that were called against the Bills, and on top of that, the uncharacteristic turnovers, not only from Josh Allen, but just from that team as a whole, putting the ball on the ground, that ultimately allowed the Patriots to win that football game. That explosive offense, only scoring 3 points in the first half, is very uncharacteristic, and we'll see if they're going to be able to rebound against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, they didn't win, they didn't lose this past week, but it didn't feel very good as they were on their bye week and watched every single team within their division win a game. And for the Falcons, I think they're one of the biggest question marks of this entire season because I don't know who the Falcons are. When they established the run with Robinson and Algier, they're a very good football team. Their defense has shown that it can improve from last season, that pass rush can be better, their secondary's fine, but then they get shut out by the Panthers or just straight up don't show up to games. And after they were able to defeat a beat up Commanders team, I still feel like that hasn't given us more answers. If the Falcons are able to establish the run, which shouldn't be too hard against this Buffalo defense, I think the Falcons can control the clock and actually win this football game. On top of that, the Bills pass rush is not able to get after Michael Penix, and he's comfortable. He might be able to dice up that secondary. And honestly, heading into this prediction, I was going to pick the Bills to win this football game. However, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons to get the upset victory. The Falcons' run defense and their pass defense has been pretty damn good this season. James Cook not being a factor in this past Sunday's game really made a difference for that Bills offense. So if the Falcons are able to contain James Cook and also force Josh Allen to throw some turnovers, I think Atlanta could pull off the win, especially if they're able to control the clock on the offensive side of the ball. And so because of that, I'm going with the Falcons to get the win on Monday night. And if I'm wrong, well, wouldn't be the first time. Falcons win. And then finally, you got the Chicago Bears taking on the Washington Commanders. The Bears able to enjoy themselves a nice bye week as they got a little bit of a win streak going, as they've been looking pretty good these past couple of weeks. You have some issues with the run game with DeAndre Swift, but Caleb Williams has been looking pretty solid. The defense is playing pretty well, especially when they're not gassed by the time the fourth quarter rolls around. And now they're going to be taking on the Washington Commanders and a healthy Jaden Daniels. And I gotta say, you already know how the Commanders are preparing for this game.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
Now, the Commanders were able to defeat a beat-up Chargers team this past Sunday, and while Jaden Daniels definitely looked efficient in his return game, it was Wild Bill with over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns that was the star of the game. On top of that, the Chargers, after scoring 10 points in the first quarter, didn't score a single point the rest of that football game, so you got to give some credit to that Commanders defense. And taking a look at this game being played in D.C., I think the Commanders do have an advantage here. While the Bears definitely have looked to have improved as the season has gone along, I think the Commanders should be able to win this game. If they're able to establish the run with Wild Bill and Jaden Daniels doesn't turn the ball over, they should find some success. However, we'll see if Scary Terry is going to wind up playing on Monday. I know he is not practicing today as this video is coming out, so his status is still in doubt for this upcoming Monday night. But here, I do believe enough in this Commanders offense that they should be able to get the job done. If the Bears are able to win, this will probably be their biggest win of the season yet, and I think will be a really nice foundation for Caleb Williams, and who knows, maybe the Bears will have turned a corner. But as of right now, I'm going with Washington to get the win. Wildflowers happy, and boy, oh boy, please let there be another Hail Mary. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com, and a big shout and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.